But the darkness on the edge of town has spread to the main roads and highways and neighborhoods. It's now at the local bar and the bowling alley, at the school board and the grocery store. They've decided to burn it all down with us inside. That should scare you to no end.
Someone that we've watched for, he said, what, 28 years?
28 years.
And his last words to the country are, "We're fucked."
That's basically what he said.
Welcome back to another episode of Mildly Alarmed. We've got some good shows lined up for you this week. On Turn 4, Justin and I are covering all things Texas Motor Speedway. On Multiverse of Merriment, we've got movie trailers, another scary game, because apparently Justin likes to live in a state of perpetual anxiety.
I do.
And we got the chance to watch Jurassic Park in a whole new way. But first, today on Mildly Alarmed, we're getting into something a little nostalgic. Perhaps the uncomfortable kind of nostalgic. Not like I miss scrunchies, but more like I miss when we all agreed on what was real nostalgic. But to start, Justin, I'm gonna play you a little clip.
Okay.
We're gonna call this clip the soundtrack to my life when I was a kid.
Okay.
All right, coming up, Anna Nicole breaks her silence plus a reality show casting call.
All the hits, one station. Kiss 95.7.
No fighting.
I do like that it landed on Shakira.
Wow, I know. Kiss 95.7. I like that.
Yeah. The other one was probably up here, 96.5 TIC. That was like my dad's default station, along with another one, because that was the like alt rock station.
Yeah.
I think there was we listened to a lot of 92.5 country, 92.5. That was
that's the country station.
where my mom landed. Yep, that's where my mom landed a lot. 98.3. Oh, we also had News Talk 1080 if we were feeling like newsy on Sunday.
Newsy? We didn't really listen to news talk radio that much. If anything, we would just listen to NPR.
I mean, we listened to NPR too.
Yeah, that's kind of where I got my news. I kind of went through an NPR spell in college a little bit, and carried it into the rest of my early 20s. I was listening to a lot of NPR. There was something about the way they did everything, the cadence that they had that I found soothing in the morning. They'd be on there like, "You're listening to NPR, and now we're going to read the news to you." It was almost like
always a whisper.
Yeah. Was NPR like the first ASMR videos? Like those kinds of like sounds? Was NPR like the first of its kind?
When you like to just like listen to someone very quietly talk to you about the news.
Yes.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has lost his fucking mind again.
Yeah, I'm not sure, maybe, but I think I was. So I don't think that I've personally listened to the radio since I left college. So that would be like 2013. When was the last time you listened to the radio?
When they got rid of me.
We'll get into that in a bit. When was the first time you listened to the radio? Do you remember, do you have radio memories when you were a kid?
Yes, I do. I remember listening to the radio, earliest memories riding in my mom's car, which I believe she called Lizzie at the time. I don't remember what kind of car it was, but it was kind of a POS is what I remember. But riding in her car, going with her to work, listening to the radio, usually some kind of morning show, which for us would have been one of two, John Boy and Billy, who I remember them. They were like some country dudes up to shenanigans and those kinds of things. So there was John Boy and Billy. And then there was, who I believe their morning show would have been on the country station. I think the country station, oh man, 107.9 would have been the country station, maybe. I could be wrong. And then there was Bob Dumas had a show, Bob and the Showgram, and it would have been, maybe back then it would have been Bob and Madison. His co-host would always kind of change, but Bob was always the same. So you kind of listened to Bob.
Yeah.
Bob was a big deal, and he was like a local celebrity. In fact, I thought he was a celebrity. It's funny, I kind of attributed like morning show hosts to being almost like these celebrities that everyone knew clearly everyone would have known who they were. It's kind of
Yeah,
what
I mean,
thought.
we did too. Actually, as I was doing research for this episode, I realized that the woman who does Kiss 95.7, Courtney,
Yeah.
is apparently still the host of Kiss 95.7.
Really? Still doing it?
Yeah, which is crazy because it was
That's
like my
wild.
entire childhood. So like 30 some odd years she's been doing Kiss 95.7.
That's crazy. That's a
yeah,
good long career there.
It is. But I also agree that I felt like they were celebrities. Like I remember I sang twice on the radio to win concert tickets. Actually, the first one wasn't for concert tickets. The first one was like a weird come down to the radio station and eat ice cream for breakfast, which
cool.
I'm sure my mom was like, this is great.
Yeah.
But I sang Shania Twain's Man, I Feel Like Woman on the radio as like a 6-year-old kid or something like that. So it was really funny.
Here?
I do not. And I remember I took my friend Caroline and we went, and it was one of those morning shows where they were just kind of like rove around and talk to the kids and stuff. So I remember we played Miss Mary Mac live on the radio for fun. We were just doing the little hand things.
Oh,
it was
fun.
great.
Did you win these tickets?
And then I won that one.
Yeah.
And then I won tickets to Christina Aguilera and Justin Timberlake when they were on tour.
Wow.
By singing Christina Aguilera's Fighter on the radio. But at the time, it was not good. I remember being like, this is not good, but I think people just thought it was cute. So I won the tickets that way.
Yeah.
So that is a hard song to sing.
Nice.
But yeah, I have a lot of memories of listening to the radio. Like when we were kids and, you'd always have like your stereo set up and like your cassette in the stereo, and you were like waiting for that song to come on.
Yes.
So you could hit the record button and actually like record your favorite song so you could listen to it later.
I did a ton of that. I was kind of that guy. I had the stereo with the 2 cassette tapes. So I could record like off one cassette tape, and then I had it hooked up to a CD player so I could record from a CD player if I wanted to. Like I did a lot of like music ripping and a lot of like kind of things like that. I remember one summer I was obsessed with a few songs. What is it? Anya, Only Time?
Enya,
Only Time. Love that song. And Drops of Jupiter by Train. I was
nice.
trying to capture those on cassette, along with a Filter song that I really liked at the time. So yeah, I had some crazy music taste. But I remember one whole summer comes to mind where I think I spent the summer just really listening to the radio and waiting for those songs. And since it was top 40, you were guaranteed to hear those songs at least once an hour if you waited long enough.
Yeah,
play the same
for
ones.
sure.
Yeah,
they were on constantly, and you would just kind of. I remember in the evenings they did like a call-in request show.
Yeah, call-in request show.
So you would just like wait for somebody to request that song that like you also wanted to listen to.
I would. I did that once. Called in and wanted Kid Rock's "Only God Knows Why." Was the song that I wanted.
I don't
and
think I
getting
ever
it
called
was
in.
always so exciting,
Yeah, I don't think I ever called in to request a song. I just called in to sing on the radio and win tickets.
Yeah.
But remember they would also just give away tickets if you were like the 10th caller.
Yeah, be
or
the
something
10th
like
caller.
that a lot.
Yeah. 10th caller or something. Yeah, and you could
crazy.
win big.
You could. I remember when we had because we had like the phones, right? So every once in a while you'd like. By the time they got around to like cell phones, everybody in your house would have like their own phone. They'd be like just hitting the redial button over and over and over again to see if you could get in there.
Good old days.
Because again, kids, we did not have cell phones when we were children.
No, did not have those. Had to use the landline.
My first flip phone was like this big. It was amazing.
I think mine was pretty small too. Small and gray, about yay big.
I don't know how I ever texted on it. But I remember sending
didn't
like,
text.
you know, like you had to hit all the keys like 3 or 4 times to get to the letters.
You had to cycle through. I didn't text. I'm still really bad at texting, even with the phone size now. I can't do it. You see me. I'm over there just like, what's that? What's the button? Oh, what's that? I need that. No, wait, I need to go back.
But yeah, I remember the radio being like, it was not only just the thing that you like listen to all the time, but it was like a topic of conversation a lot in school.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would come in and people would be talking about like the calls contests for sure, like the ones that they were looking forward to, like the funny things that happened on the morning broadcasts.
Yeah. We talked about
actually,
that with Bob's show. It'd be like, did you hear Bob?
I was going to say, you sent me a clip.
Yeah.
Perhaps now's the good time to play that clip.
Yeah, so this is from, to tee it up, this is from Bob and the Showgram, and this is just an example of sometimes he would do outlandish things on the radio, and in this case, sawing a desk and having a meltdown and breaking studio equipment. But the thing about it was you didn't know, is he having a true honest-to-God meltdown, or is this part of the show?
Hey, whoa! Erica! What the? Go over there! Bob, what are you doing? I'm not going near you.
This is him sawing it. That sound is the saw in the background.
I'm sick and damn tired of this.
Bob,
You
got to calm down. You're making me super nervous.
What is he sawing? I don't know.
And you're just riding down the road being like, this is great. This is amazing.
Yeah.
What the hell? I almost said the F-bomb.
What is he doing?
That's an expensive ass desk.
He just cut. Bob.
All right, let's finish American Idiots first. Come on. Okay, all right.
And there he just keeps breaking stuff. And like I said, you know, you didn't know. And those were the kind of shenanigans that show would put on. I think I had a friend one time who worked for them, and they kind of got in trouble for this one, I think. But there was a bear that was spotted in Raleigh. And if anyone could find the bear, they would win concert tickets or something like that. But they were like, you can't have people going out.
A bunch of people looking for a bear.
Yeah. But that's the kind of show that they would do. You know, that was just the kind of thing. And they would do a lot of pranks where they would have a caller call in, and they'd be on the phone with him telling him what to say while he was in line ordering, and they would just have him say and do the most outlandish things. They'd be like, who's around you? And they'd be like, there's this person here. And he goes, okay, go up to them and say this exactly.
Yeah.
And you'd win big. So that was it was just really fun. And I remember just thinking how cool that was as a kid, listening to that and wanting to, you know, I guess that's where my first dreams of like, I'd love to be on the radio when it came from. It sounded so fun as a job.
I don't know. It just popped in my head. I don't know if you had this down here. Kiss 95.7, I'm pretty sure, was the station who had like a Catch a Cheater one for a call-in show. Did you have that where they would pull a prank? Like a girl would call in. They did it like once a week. It was like every Friday or something like that. A girl would call in and tell them that she thought that her boyfriend was cheating on her.
Yeah, they did that. Bob did that.
And so they would call the boyfriend and be like, hi, this is such and such florist. We're giving away free flowers today. Is there a person that you would want to send these flowers to?
They would do that same thing, like the same gimmick. They'd be like, yeah, they would call pretending to be some kind of gift. Like you've won some kind of gift, like an edible arrangement or a florist or a jeweler or something. And who's the special person you want to send this to? And I do recall one time, it got messy. Because the person was like, oh yeah, I want to send this to Julie or whatever. And they've got Sarah on the phone. And then all of a sudden Sarah can't like stay quiet. So she's like, what? Are you serious? And he's like, who's this? What's going on? And she's like, you know, I loved those. You know, I'm messy and you know, I like tea. And, so like, I don't know, like I just was like, man, I love this shit. I would eat that up. It was great radio.
It was really funny.
It was great
and
radio.
It was the like suspense of waiting to see what they
you're
would
like
do
rooting
next.
for the guy. You're like, I was kind of like rooting like, come on, man, be cool. Just be cool. Say the right one. And then, you know, inevitably they say the wrong one. And you're like, yes, this is going to get nice. But it was fun.
I remember one time I was listening to one and they thought it was going to get messy because he said a different name. but it was his mom. It was just kind of like, aw,
Aw,
that's cute.
that's funny. Yeah, those were fun. Those were really fun segments. I miss those.
We were both listening to these segments growing up, but you got such a kick out of them. You actually wanted to be in broadcast radio.
Yes, I wanted to be on the radio. In fact, I remember I had this this tape recorder, and I would pretend to be on the radio with it, and would do my own radio show in the room. I wish I still had some of these tapes. I'm sure they're cringe-worthy. But I would find like certain things to talk about and just chat and do kind of like talk radio. It's funny, I didn't listen to a ton of talk radio, but I loved talk radio at the time.
Did you change your voice for the radio?
Yeah, I kind of tried to emulate what my broadcast teacher would call the golden pipes. I tried to do the whole I'm on the radio type of thing. Trying to do the whole radio voice. No, yeah, and then it kind of turned into I remember two things. One, I wanted to be in kind of sports broadcasting for a while. Like I really liked hockey, so I would put on the old NHL PlayStation game that I had, and I would have the two teams, the computer play. So I would set it to computer to play. And so I would just watch this hockey game on my video game, not knowing the outcome. I'm not playing. But I would commentate it while it was going on to the tape player, to practice commentary. But it was really bad because I couldn't always pronounce the names. But then I would also talk about, I would also do like a racing thing because I loved racing, and I had these like little Matchbox cars, and I would pretend to commentate the race with the thing. So that was kind of like what I kind of wanted to do more of was be in like commentary on the radio, because I loved listening to the race on the radio. It is very exciting the way they do it, because I remember we used to have the race on television, and then during the commercial breaks you would put the radio on to kind of keep listening to it and then switch back. And the race, you would watch it on television, and maybe it wasn't that exciting of a race. Maybe the lead had kind of a big lead over second place. You'd put the radio on, it sounded like the dude was on his ass. It was just like, this is the most exciting race we've ever seen. He's right there. He's almost going to pass him. But it was like, no, he's not. We were watching on television. But the people on the radio just over dramatized it, and I loved it.
Yeah. That's actually really smart. I never would have thought to have the computer play out a simulation and record over it. It's kind of like what you do at the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Yes, it was really good practice. I mean, you could put on, the computer simulation, you'd have the two teams play each other, and then I would sit there. I had no idea what was going to happen. So it's really good practice, and I would try to tell the story of the game in a fun and exciting way to the tape player. And yeah, it was really good practice at the time, I thought. I just had a hard time pronouncing the names. I was young.
When you went to college for broadcasting.
I did. I wasn't going to at first. I was going to go into the military because I lived in Fuquay-Varina, and that's just what I thought the only options were. Everyone I knew was going into the military, and I didn't think I was smart enough to do really anything. And so I thought military was really what I had to do. But it was my broadcast teacher at the time, who I will never forget, Miss Norberg. Big shout out to her. She, it's one of those moments where, you have a teacher that you just won't forget for these reasons because they change your life. This is one. She kind of sat me down and kind of talked to me about broadcasting and how I had some talent for it and that I should pursue it. And kind of told my parents that might be something I'd want to do. And then we got hooked up at Central Carolina Community College for the broadcast program. And the rest is history. It was so much fun.
What was that like? Like, what are some things you remember from going to school for broadcasting?
I remember, one, how fun it was. I was nervous to start because I was a bit shy. I was kind of teased in high school, so I hadn't really come out of my shell. But I was just so enamored. I remember the first time I toured it, and then I went into the college to the broadcasting section, and they had an active radio station, and they were like, all the students get to, have an air shift. You're going to be on the radio, and we have a television station, and we have all these things, which a lot of the other colleges didn't have. So I was like, holy crap, I'm going to get to be on the radio. But I was also like super nervous about that. But I remember just making so many awesome friends, um, and, studying this craft and believing that, like, I could do this and, being able to go on the radio and actually do the thing. It was just it was a very incredible experience and, one I won't forget. But I feel like I learned more about myself and learned more, um, about like, just coming out of my shell and being me, in that environment than I ever did in high school or anything like that. Um, I was just it
So,
was the first time in my life I felt encouraged.
yeah.
And that really helped me go on the radio and be my authentic self. And I had a blast. And looking back on it, it was some of the best years. I took them for granted. But some of the best years for sure.
What was your first radio show?
My first radio show I kind of got lucky. So you had to do 3 hours,
Okay.
for the week. But the way it fell, I was the only one that had to do I had to do my 3 hours on the same day. So each student would have like an hour, but Thursdays from noon on for 3 hours, I had the radio station for 3 hours. And, yeah, it was a big shift, but I did like a lunch shift and I did classic rock. I was really big into classic rock. So I would do like a classic 70s, 80s, 60s and that kind of thing. And we had to come up with our own show formats and everything. And, I remember 2 things. I remember one time, this was like the first time I was on the radio. I had just played Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good to Me So Far, and I was just letting that song play out, and it would stop. Once it got to the end, the song would always stop, and then I would go on to the next deck. So I had 2 CDs. I'd put CD in CD1, CD in CD2. CD1 would run out, and then I would hit CD2, and that's kind of how you go back and forth on the thing. Song gets to the end. I had no idea. I'd never listened all the way through that Joe Walsh song all the way to the end. But apparently at the end of the song, as I'm doing my air check, being like, 90.5 the beat, that was Joe Walsh. Up next, we're going to have Aerosmith. During that point, all of a sudden I hear this man start to snore and him say, what we have here is a bunch of wah-wahs, and everybody started going, wah, 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 wah. And I was like listening, and everyone was like, where is that coming from? What is that? And it was the most embarrassing moment because it was like on the air and I'm like, I don't know what that is. And it was at the end of this Joe Walsh song. So listen,
That's funny.
all the way to that song. The second thing is that on Thursdays, I would always get a call from a guy from the prison and there in the area of where I went to college, and he had radio privileges, and he would always call me to request a Michael Jackson song. So every Thursday I'd always play one Michael Jackson song for this dude.
Did you pick the same one every week or different
No,
song
a different
every week?
one. He wanted to each week he'd be like, all right, I want to hear Michael Jackson's, whatever, Beat It, Thriller, Billie Jean, or, something, and I would just
Yeah.
play it. And that was kind of the thing that I remember the most. So that was my first time being on the radio was a 3-hour, like classic rock lunch midday thing. But it was really nice to do that because it got me ready for when I had to do my first like real on-air shifts. I was used to being on air for a long period of time, you
Yeah.
know? So I had the stamina, if you will, to, I knew how to write a 3-hour show.
So you get out of school. Do you immediately get a job in radio?
I was in school. I was doing the thing, which was kind of to the detriment because I didn't chase a bachelor's degree. I did not know at the time in 2006 how important having a bachelor's degree was going to be. So, I get into college. I'm doing the thing. We have to come up with an internship. And so I broke into radio doing the internship at the place that I was at, 100.7 The River. And I was also doing some air checks for a station in Sanford. I think it was 103.9 or something like that. WDSG, we do Sanford good. That was a very strange station. I remember they had this weird thing that they wanted me to do at the bottom of the hour. I had to read the obituary section once per air shift. It was the strangest radio station I'd ever been a part of.
Weird.
It was very weird. But it was airtime, and that's just what I was interested in at the time, was just getting airtime to practice, you know.
Yeah.
But I was in college and I was doing radio stuff in college, and so that's why like I just kind of always thought that would be there, and I didn't pursue the education because I was like, well, the career is working out. And
Yeah, but you did get some good experience in
yeah,
radio.
I had a great time. I loved working for Kitty Kinnon. Kitty Kinnon, was a great radio host and a wealth of knowledge. I remember the first time, I hope she don't mind me telling the story, but I remember the first time, like I asked her, I was very young and I wanted advice because I was serious about being on the radio, and I wanted advice from someone, a legend like Kitty Kinnon. You know, I couldn't believe that she wanted me to work with her. I just could not believe that. But I was like, hey, like, can you tell me a little bit about like what I should be focusing on? Like, is there anything that you did after you got out of college? And she was like, college? Hun, like, she was like, I didn't go to college. She goes, I moved to Colorado, lived in a teepee and smoked weed and listened to rock and roll. And I was like, cool. That's a path. But, yeah, no, she was awesome and taught me a ton, and also gave me the confidence because, I've always struggled with confidence, and I feel like I need that encouragement. And so to work for someone like Kitty Kinnon, who I respected so much from being on the radio and listening to her when she was, a radio host for a number of years in rock, to telling me how much she appreciated working with me and helping her with her show and her trusting me to tailor her show, did wealth for me in my early stages of my radio career.
So what years was this when you were working for Kitty Cannon?
It was the year the economy went tits up under George Bush Jr. What is that? It was not, Obama's not in office yet. So this was 2007, 2008.
So we're not in the 2008 financial crisis quite yet. We're
knocking on the door.
Okay.
Because it was eventually that financial crisis that kind of, it was a combination of things that ended the radio thing. It was the financial crisis because radio stations couldn't get sponsorship, so they start cutting things, right? They start,
Right.
And then it was the invention of things like Pandora, and streaming things, music platforms like
Apple Music.
iHeartMedia, Apple Music, Pandora. I didn't realize at the time how much those type of things were going to change the landscape, because nobody wanted DJs anymore. They didn't really. And then too, I remember, and this didn't dawn on me, but I remember that some of the on-air personalities that were at the River 100.7 were syndicated. So they weren't even around Raleigh. Like, I remember one dude who would do the afternoon shift was in like Philadelphia or something, and he would just do air checks for multiple stations. So you were losing that like local flavor that we used to love about like these local celebrities and radio people. You were kind of losing that, and you were losing that like authentically Raleigh touch of like, these people are part of the community and there are local celebrities and they have the voice of the city that we live in. We were losing that, and we were losing the kind of the DJ thing. It was becoming more about just streaming music. You could get music commercial free. You didn't have to listen to the radio to get this now. Now you could just download the music and listen to it through your car, through an app. And that was
It's interesting that was around 2008 for you, 2007, 2008, because I remember 2008 I started at UConn. And I remember I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I was in a human rights, political science kind of bent, but I thought, journalism is interesting, and there are plenty of political pundits who are vaguely journalists, or they write opinion pieces or whatever. So I was like, one of the electives you could take was journalism. So like, I'll take this. It'll be interesting. And I remember my professor, the very first day of class, gets up there. He walks down to the bottom, and he's giving this like speech in front of the whole class, talking about like some of the coolest moments he's seen as a journalist, and like some of like the crazy stuff that he saw covering wars and stuff like that. And he basically goes, Yeah, being a journalist can be incredible,
Hmm.
but I'll tell you now, journalism is dead. So if you want to do this career, you better love it because it's dying. It'll be dead soon, and you're all going to be out of a job. And it was like, that is a really odd thing to say to a first day of class.
No, I've been there.
But-
So can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
Through the college, we got invited to a broadcast convention at NBC. I think it was NBC. Yes.
Okay.
And it was out in Charlotte. And I really wanted to go because there was a section that I wanted to attend more so because I wanted, by this point, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, I know where I want to kind of send my focus. Yeah, sure. I'm doing internships with, 100.7. I'm working with Kitty Kennan. I'm doing this other radio station. But the goal is I want MRN. I want the Motor Racing Network. That's where I want to end up eventually because I want to commentate races. This convention's in Charlotte, and they had a special course on sports broadcasting radio. So I go. The night before, we stop at this steakhouse, and I order a steak. The next morning, I wake up, I have food poisoning. I go to this convention with food poisoning, having to like constantly leave to go throw up and then come back. But every class that I attended that day, at this broadcast convention with all these other young broadcasters and some broadcasters, all of them told us that we were not getting jobs. Every single class that I went to, they were like, thank you all for being here. It's so great to see all of you young broadcasters. None of you in here are probably going to end up working in broadcasting because broadcasting is going away. And it was clearly like, I almost felt like the people giving the course were kind of threatened by it a little bit because they were broadcasters too, and they didn't want to give up the positions because they are coveted positions. But
there's really only a
basically
few of them.
everyone, every class, including the sports broadcasting one, they were like, you guys definitely aren't working in sports broadcasting. There's no way that's happening. So I rode
interesting.
back home from Charlotte with food poisoning and depression, thinking like, I'm not going to. Oh man, it was tough. Like I feel like I came into the field of broadcasting at like the worst possible time because it was broadcasting as the traditional sense is starting to disappear before our eyes. We're on the precipice of broadcasting changing to something completely different, but I'm also too old and not taking seriously the going into doing podcasting. Like podcasting isn't a thing. Having your own channel on YouTube and being a radio personality or a broadcast personality on YouTube yourself to get subscribers isn't really a thing, and it's not a thing that us traditional broadcasters take seriously. We're still thinking the best way to do it is to do it for mainstream media. But that's disappearing. So I feel like my life slotted into the worst possible point because being in the media was never going to happen for me long term because it disappeared. But I wish I would have known early on, and this is something I tell when I go back to the college to talk to the young kids who are still in the broadcast program. They still, I think for one, they're closing it down, but I think they still have some broadcasting. But my school is actually getting rid of the broadcast department that I went to. I would tell them, maybe use these broadcast skills that you're learning to do what you and I are doing now. Put your efforts into that. That seems to be like go into doing it for yourself if you can, because that seems to be where the trend is heading. Because media
definitely
itself is
trendy.
disappearing.
I do want to circle back to something you said, though. You said that listening to the radio show hosts in your area gave kind of your general community, the greater Raleigh area, an identity. And I think that was true a lot for every state and every city, like the one I played at the top of the hour. That was that was Connecticut to me for a really long time. But even in a greater sense, like when you and I think about broadcasting, and I think a lot of people, when we think about broadcasting, we think about news anchors, right? We think about the people who were on like the nightly news, the morning news shows, stuff like that growing up. So I know you sent me a clip
Yes, this clip stood
of
out
an
to me.
anchor
So
from when you were a kid.
my favorite television broadcaster anchor was David Crabtree. I had the chance to actually interview him. I was looking for that interview. I wish I could have found it. I no longer have it, but I actually did interview David Crabtree when I was in college, and then I met him when I was a part of the Junior Broadcast Association, like a youth thing, and they did it at WRL. And I remember the first time I went and the doors opened, there was this angelic music, and David Crabtree came out of the studio to like say hello to us, and I just stood there stared at him. Didn't say a word. Yeah, he was really great. But in this clip, he's going to talk about kind of what I think we've lost in broadcast media when it comes to what an anchor should do. So,
being fair about it. Charlie also taught me this. I've heard Charlie referred to as the Great White Father because of the great white hair he had, the Grand Poobah, the Walter Cronkite of North Carolina. I would disagree with that. Charlie was the Edward R. Murrow of North Carolina because they shared this. Charlie wasn't going to try to convince you what was true. Charlie said, give people the facts, give them the facts, and the people will decide what is true.
I think what he's talking about Charlie Gaddy, who was an anchor before my time when David Crabtree took over from him and he learned from him. And I feel like that's what David Crabtree would do. David Crabtree would come on television and he would just give you the facts and he would tell you the news. He would just read you the news. And you trusted him. You saw him every night. And he just kind of became a figure that you were just like, oh man, something happened in the news. I wonder if David Crabtree's going to read about it tonight and just hear what he has to say about it. I don't know, like in the worst times and bad times, he'd come on there and it just felt like he always knew what to say. And I thought he was amazing. And 40-year career in television, David Crabtree.
It's interesting because I think, oddly enough, one of the things that you and I both agreed that we really liked when we were first dating, we were talking about like all the things that we like about whatever. One name came up for broadcasters that we both love.
My man.
Brian Williams.
Brian Williams.
Which is ironic in part because I almost feel like Brian Williams' career tracks the moment that the mainstream media began to crumble. I feel like Brian Williams crumbled and mainstream media crumbled with him.
Brian Williams
but
was
I want
the
to play you a couple. I want to play you a couple of clips.
Yeah, all right.
One is his very first broadcast ever.
This is exciting. I don't think I've seen this.
I actually have not either.
Yeah, this is exciting. I love Brian Williams. This is great.
So we'll start with this one.
What a treat.
We're December 2nd, 2004.
Wow, look at that intro.
A new era begins on this broadcast, but not without a word about the era that ended last night when our friend, mentor, and leader signed off after more than 2 decades on this broadcast. He has allowed me to sit in this chair in his absence for the last 10 years, and now hopefully many years more. For those of us fortunate enough to have shared a newsroom and a calling with Tom Brokaw, it was not quite the same around here today. While we will see him around here, and so will you, after the most carefully planned vacation in American history, he leaves us as stewards of the broadcast he presided over and shaped on a daily basis. It is now our job from this day forward to endeavor each evening to put the finest work of this organization on the air. We can do that best by working harder than anyone else, just the way Tom did for so many years. I stand on the shoulders of great people at NBC News. Some are household names, but most are not. It is an honor to work with all of them. Without them, and most importantly, without my own family, this dream that started in a small town and in this great nation would not be coming true tonight. Without you watching our daily effort, none of this would be worthwhile. So thank you for watching. We'll continue to work each evening to earn and preserve your loyalty. It means so much to us to have you with us as we continue a great tradition starting tonight. That is our broadcast for this Thursday night, December 2nd.
I could cry.
I'm Brian Williams, reporting tonight from New York. Good night.
I could cry.
So
There's no one
Before
in
we go tonight,
media
a word.
that speaks as eloquently as that anymore. It's
No.
like Sean Hannity now. I don't know. There's no news guys. That's what I mean. There's like no like anchors, man. And he had the whole package, dude. He was smooth. He was suave. I mean, he's sitting up there like James Bond, got that news look on his face. That here's the news.
he's got the
And he had
cadence and
he
the
had
look for sure.
He had the look. He had the voice. I miss that about our news because we don't have. I mean, who's the news guys right now? There are no news guys. They're all like pundits going up there and just spilling trash out of their mouths.
Yeah.
There's no news guys. There's no Tom
The thing about-
Brokaws. There's no Walter Cronkites. There's no Murrows.
That's true. The thing about Brian Williams for me too is that because I grew up in Connecticut, we had local stations, but New York was right there, right? And so our news was basically the nightly news. Like it was Brian Williams, it was Lester Holt, and all those other people that have been doing it for so long.
It's just trash now. Like when a tragedy happens in America, there's no one to turn on the news just to get something from. Like when January 6th
reaction.
When January 6th happened, there was no one to turn to. Fox started explaining it away,
spewing their bullshit.
I think the only person that gave any type of good kind of commentary on it was maybe Joe Scarborough, but he's not a real news guy. He's a morning show.
It's interesting though, isn't it? It's like we lost the nightly news. We lost the broadcasters that spoke to the nation, and at the same time, we lost the emotional weight and gravity of the things that were happening across America. Like you would turn on. I remember the shooting in Charleston happened at that church, and a bunch of people died.
Yes.
And I wasn't living there at the time yet. We were thinking about moving there. And I remember turning on, but I had visited, and I remember turning on the nightly news. Brian Williams wasn't there at the time. I think it was Savannah Guthrie or Lester Holt. But I remember turning it on to see the news reaction, to hear the news story for that particular event, because everything else I was hearing was like a hot take about it. And I wanted to know what the actual facts were, what the news was, how people were reacting to this in Charleston. And the nightly news was the place, really the only place at the time to get that. And I don't know that we have a substitute for that anymore.
I mean, the thing that comes, they're all disappearing. 60 Minutes might be close. I mean, they're still reporting and they're still giving news, and they still try to come at it from, I mean, a lot of people won't believe this, but they still try to come at it from an unbiased point of view. They're still just reporters. But even 60 Minutes is being diminished. It's all going away because of the sensationalism. The news anchors are dinosaurs. They're extinct.
It's interesting, though. So I brought up Brian Williams because again, his career somewhat tracks the downfall. This video I'm going to play you from February 11th, 2015. This is Lester Holt reporting the Brian Williams news story.
Okay.
Now to the story many of you are talking about tonight, and one that for us not only hits close to home, but in our home. Brian Williams, anchor and managing editor, ended by NBC management for 6 months without pay. In a statement, NBC News President Deborah Turner said on Friday, January 30th, Brian misrepresented events which occurred while he was covering the Iraq War in 2003. It then became clear, she says, that on other occasions, Brian had done the same while telling that story in other venues. She adds this was wrong and completely inappropriate for someone in Brian's position. In a statement, NBC...
So there's more statements, but...
Could you imagine someone doing this now? There'd be no one left in television.
No. This bothered me at the time because...
It bothered me too.
The story was that Brian Williams embellished a story that he was like retelling at parties and stuff about some time he had spent in the war in Iraq, and I think there was like a helicopter and soldiers
I
involved
do
or
remember
something like
something about
that.
a
And
helicopter.
I think he was retelling it more as like a James Bond story than
Yeah.
what it
That
actually
he,
was.
you know, he was probably drinking with his buddies and being like, "Let me tell you something crazy."
Yeah, this bothered me because I don't remember the reporting 100%, but I felt like he wasn't reporting it as news.
Mm-mm.
He was telling it as a story, potentially at public events or private events, something like that, and embellishing the story. And it pissed me off because I was just like, who cares?
Yeah.
That was my initial reaction to it, was who cares?
But back then, it was also very important to have that credibility within our news people, because they were like, if he will embellish that, what else is he embellishing? Is he embellishing the news that we're listening to every night? That was still important back then. Now,
Right.
if something like this happened, nobody
Well, it
would
happens
give it.
all the time. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. The pundits on television, they
And
say
Fox
whatever the
News
hell they
doesn't
want.
report a news story worth a damn.
Yeah,
But I bring up my reaction to it only because I should have cared.
Yeah.
Because we all should have cared.
Yeah.
That a person that we expected to get the unbiased truth from was out there embellishing a story. Now, of course, he could have gotten around it by saying, I'm going to retell this story. I'm going to embellish it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to retell this story just to, tell it in advance, like, this is not how it went down, but this is how I imagine it going down. Or this is how I remember it because of the like PTSD that I have from it or something, right?
The events may be fuzzy, but this is how I remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of ways that he could have gotten around it and told the same story and not had this come down on him. But it's interesting because now I, like everyone else, you turn on the news and you're not sure if you're getting a true news story, if you're getting a biased news story, if you're getting a bunch of bullshit, like Fox News pulling photos of Trump wearing a hat when he wasn't wearing a hat because they pulled this photo from 4 years ago just to make him look good. Like, you have no idea what you're watching anymore.
Well, now you have now you just flock to your tribe's town crier.
Sure, I watch Pod Save America.
Now you just go where you want to get what you want to hear.
You get your echo chamber news.
Yes. For the Fox crowd who believe that Donald Trump is a deity, they want to go hear from their priests. And their priests are on Fox News. And they get their marching orders. They get their sermon notes from those guys. I don't know anybody in their right mind who listens to MSNBC anymore, but for those people who do, that's great. They go and they get their MSNBC news from, Rachel Maddow and the Morning Joe. I don't know if they're those. No one in my group. I don't know. But for us, I feel like we have our podcast we like to listen to. You like to listen to, as do I, Pod Save. I'm a Sam Cedar fan. Sam Cedar and Emma. Great to listen to while you're working. You just kind of put them on in the background. I like the Bulwark.
Sure.
So our news channels have turned into YouTube channels. Podcasts.
Yeah.
It's
Jon Stewart's weekly show.
Fascinating thing. For the fans who listen to Mildly Alarmed, there's something they're wanting for that. And we are now their broadcasters. But
we're the echo chamber.
We're the echo chamber for them. But it's a fascinating, having grown up with aspirations of a career in broadcasting, it is a fascinating world I find myself in from where it started.
So I'm going to let Brian Williams have kind of the last word on mainstream media.
Let's do it.
as I was, again, researching this episode, I came across his last broadcast, which I never saw. It was on MSNBC, and I wasn't watching mainstream
Yeah,
media
he
at
did the
all by that
11th
point.
hour.
Yeah, he did the 11th hour. This show was trying to find a date, 2021. And what he had to say surprised me, and I'm curious to get your reaction to it as
Okay.
well. So here is Brian Williams' last show.
Okay.
Well, look at the time. I'll try to keep this brief. After 28 years of peacock logos on much of what I own, it is my choice now to jump without a net into the great unknown, as I do for the first time in my 62 years. My biggest worry is for my country. The truth is, I'm not a liberal or a conservative. I'm an institutionalist. I believe in this place, and in my love of country, I yield to no one. But the darkness on the edge of town has spread to the main roads and highways and neighborhoods. It's now at the local bar and the bowling alley, at the school board and the grocery store. And it must be acknowledged and answered for. Grown men and women who swore an oath to our Constitution, elected by their constituents, possessing the kinds of college degrees I could only dream of, have decided to join the mob and become something they are not, while hoping we somehow forget who they were. They've decided to burn it all down with us inside. That should scare you to no end as much as it scares an aging volunteer fireman. To my coworkers, my love and
Wow.
Not how I expected him to go out, I gotta say.
He's not wrong.
He's not.
That's what I think sometimes it's frustrating. I was thinking about this in the car the other day. You and I were going someplace. I don't remember. I was sitting there thinking, I was thinking about where I work. I was thinking about the people who lead it. And, I was just like asking myself why they do the things that they do. Why are people in power? Why do people who have the means to do something good, to make real change, why are they so hell-bent on tearing the whole thing down?
Mm.
And I just, he's not wrong. And, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, it hit
That was very
me.
impactful, yeah.
Someone that we've watched for, he said, what, 28 years?
28 years.
And his last words to the country are, "We're fucked."
That's basically what he said. Well, I'm out of here, guys. Good luck to you. We're all fucked.
The house is burning down from the inside. We're all trapped in it, and what are we going to do?
That's what frustrates me so much about it, is just, again, like I was saying when I was thinking, I think a lot of the emotions, and sometimes when I'm just by myself thinking about this, it infuriates me that there is a version of America that you and I grew up with. We've talked about it on this show before. And there's a version of America that we could be, and how great that would be. And a group of people, are destroying it. And there's another group of people who voted for it and who cheer it on and are standing there watching the flames with glee.
From the inside.
From the inside. And it's just frustrating for someone like me to be like, why are you all so insistent on this version of America that we're currently living in? Why are you so insistent? Why do you want it so bad? Why do you want the cruelty?
It is
Why do you want the
right?
institutions to go away? Why don't you want to help people?
I often feel like, especially on this show, and we called it Mildly Alarmed for a reason, I feel like we are, as millennials, and a lot of millennials are doing this now, we're all running around screaming the house is on fire. And the people inside the house with us, but that are on the other side of the fence, are going, yeah, but we wanted it this way.
I know. I
This
voted
is
for this.
I voted for this. I like it when the house is on fire because it's going to kill the immigrants first. It's going to kill the gay people first. It might come for me eventually, but I believe that our leaders will put out that fire before it gets to me. And I just think that that is a stupid thing to think. And frankly, I just don't understand it. And I don't think that I ever will. But the idea that I feel like mainstream media died along with Brian Williams' comments there for sure. I think it might have been long dead at that point because this was 5 years ago. But the trust in mainstream media died along with him signing off. And I mean, some of that was by design, right? That's part of the authoritarian playbook. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we ever get it back, which is kind of sad because,
No.
like you said, we grew up in this time where radio hosts and fun morning shows were a part of our cultural identity. And you could walk into school, you could talk to anybody and be like, oh, but did you hear that thing on Kiss 95.7 last night? That was funny. When they pulled that prank on that person, that was funny. You could make conversation based on the stuff that you were getting from broadcast media. And you can't do that anymore because not everybody is watching PodSafe. Not everybody is watching Sam Cedar. People are watching their own things in their own echo chambers. And it's not even the people that you live near. So you don't have a community except online. And online communities are toxic. People are terrible to each other. So I feel like there's a lot less joy, happiness, camaraderie. Communities are based on fear, on anxiety, on depression. And we've lost something as a country that I'm not sure we're ever going to get back.
Damn, man. I think you're right.
I hope we get it back.
I don't think we do.
I don't know how.
I don't either. I hate to be the pessimist on the show, but I don't think we do get it back. I think we just, like we did post-pandemic, we just learn new ways to live in the reality that we have been presented before us. We just adapt to the new rules. If humans can do anything, it's adapt. And, the worse things get, we just seem to find a way to continuously adapt to it. You remember the phrase new norms?
Yeah.
I think new norms. I think television stations, as traditionally as you know it, they go away, and echo chambers stay, and we stay separated. I don't think we ever find our way back to each other. I don't think America ever finds its way back to the way it was in the 90s or whenever we remember it being fairly good, best in our childhoods. I don't think we ever find our way back to there. I think we adapt to the new norms and whatever those norms are. And somehow, as a human race, we find a way to do it. And people like you and me, regular people who want nothing to do with anything that people in power are setting forth, we just find a way to adapt to the rules that they've put before us. And we continue on with our lives as best we can. But I don't think it ever goes back to, it only goes downhill. It never becomes anything better than what day is this? This is the best it'll ever be again. And then tomorrow will be the best it'll ever be that day.
Let's talk about your favorite TV show again for a second, though. Star Trek.
Star Trek.
We'll eventually get somewhere. Maybe it won't be in our lifetimes. But there's a version of the future of humanity that allows for a sense of unified community again.
But, yes. But Star Trek, to get to that point, they also had to blow each other half to hell. And it was through the ashes.
I'm not saying we won't do that.
Yeah, I'm just
saying that there could be a future for humanity.
Isn't it sad
where we find a sense of community and camaraderie again, but it will probably, much like America after the Civil War, it will come after much bloodshed and chaos.
Isn't that sad that human beings have to completely, kill each other before they're like, we don't want to do this anymore, we should work together? The killing comes before the talking.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We are the dumbest people in the universe. I was looking at that NASA photo that the one astronaut posted where the Earth was going behind the moon. It was setting behind the moon. And I remember thinking at that photo, I was just sitting there staring at Earth from that perspective. And if some little spaceship was to come along and see this beautiful blue ball with wispy clouds out in the vastless void of nothingness, they would discover life on this beautiful blue ball and a nothing, only to discover that it was full of the dumbest fucking people that they had probably ever come across.
That actually, just one last tangent before we sign off. I went downstairs the other day and my mom was watching a documentary about, I don't know, alien abductions or sightings or something like that. And I was like, you trying to figure out some tips so they'll beam you up? And she was like, yep, it's my only hope.
Yeah, it's the only hope we have is that aliens are real and they want to experiment on us. Please, God, whatever you want to do to me, just get me out of here. Just get me out of here. Yeah, I no longer care.
Well, not the most uplifting of episodes we've done, but it needed to be said. And heck, you're watching a show called Mildly Alarmed, so what do you expect? Tell us what you were listening to in the 90s and early 2000s. What were your radio stations? What do you remember? What are like the bits on the radio that still bring you joy when you think about them? Let's try to turn the end of this around and see if we can capture some of that nostalgia. Or heck, maybe there are podcasts, YouTube channels out there that are doing the same thing. I mean, Rhett and Link do something similar, right? So there's got to be some shows out there that are capturing that kind of nostalgia. Hit us up with those. Tell us where you're getting your sense of fun and community these days.
Yeah, we could use it.
We could. As always, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and YouTube Music, 6 a.m. on Tuesdays. But for now, I think that's where we'll end it. Until next time.
Take it easy.